Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toku Portal podcast for Kaitou Sentai LupinRanger versus Keisatsu Sentai PatoRanger. I am Vashavi, and joining me today are.
Dedicated,
And Rye.
and today we're talking about episode 32. So, Pato Kaiser is defeated by the test subject, but it malfunctions and turns small. Uh, the experiment does. Gosh is disappointed. Um, the Lupin Rangers attack. Yellow tries to open a safe, but it does not open. Patran X thinks that all five safes are linked. Before Gosh can use her binoculars collection piece, Patran X tells the Rangers to retreat. They do, and Gosh leaves with her experiment. That's kind of cool that we literally go from mech losing straight into another ground battle. I can't remember last time I saw that. That's
You can tell, well, it was pretty clear that the mech fight wasn't going to go so well when they opened up with the finisher, because red flags. Uh, but it was nice that the Lupin Rangers step in with the on the ground and establish right away, like, hey, you can't open this safe. And I had the same thought Noel did before he said, like, oh, are the safes connected? Uh, Also, I'm curious about whether or not Gosh was still on the ground the entire time, or if she went back to the mansion and then came back when her experiment turned small again. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm just wondering, like, if she was there in person the whole time.
I'm going to assume that she left, if only because they played the music that they always play when she shows up. Uh, my memory serves me correct, there was also the sound effect. But other than that, I don't know. It's like, I loved watching how it backtracked just enough to remind you what had happened without doing the standard. Here's what happened on the last episode thing. They just rewound a minute or two and then hit play. I like that. And them jumping from the mech fight to a small little on foot fight was lovely.
Oh,
yeah,
also, Noel recognizing the collection pieces has never been more relevant than right now. With him going, she has those? Guys, we gotta bail right now. I just don't understand why. Well, I guess I can understand that they had a lot of other things to worry about, but you'd think he would have mentioned what they do. I think that would have been on the list.
Well, I mean, it could have been one of those. He knew what it did, but he also knew how long it would take before it would work, and there was not enough time to explain
No,
what
no,
it
no,
did.
not in the moment, like after the
Oh, after the
fact.
fact,
Yeah,
I think that has issues to do with theories and stuff that we can spout off later in the
yeah.
episode.
It's like, we can't quite spoil the reveal just yet.
yeah. So after the opening, when we come back, it's episode title number 32, Challenge to a Duel. At the station, the officers wonder how to defeat the monster. Hilltop is discussing it with France HQ. No Hilltop this episode. Sad face.
Oh god, I didn't even notice. It's just
yeah.
been so serious and tense.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. But then I cut to Gerard. Noah tells the others his theory on the safes. He's right, of course. The thieves wonder how they will open five safes at once. Coyote, of course, thinks to just split into three with Goody. But Noel explains that the bad boys piece would disable that, just like it disabled Hugo. Uh, So Noel proposes to the police that they should work with the thieves and defeat the monster like they did with Raimon. But Keiichiro refuses because he believes they can find a way to defeat the Gangler. I mean, Raimon was literally invincible, although this guy pretty much is too. But Keiichiro doesn't want the thieves to let the Gangler escape for the sake of saving a collection piece. And that is totally a good reason, because maybe they steal two or three pieces, but they can't get the rest. They would probably let the Gangler get away instead of killing it. So that was actually a good reason for Keiichiro's rage. Thoughts?
Uh, I haven't been counting, but how many times have they let a gangler go so that they could get the piece later? I can think of a few examples, like the time Tuma was body swapped with one. Uh, but ultimately, I feel like Keiichiro is just being biased, which is fair. My real question, though, is how does he feel that handling the Ganglar and defeating it as fast as possible in this case by working with the thieves is the same as letting it go to cause more damage later?
Like I'm not sure how that one worked. Like I get his point of I don't want to team up with him because they have a habit of doing this.
But he was talking like he would also be committing the same crimes as them, which he defined as letting the Ganglar go to cause more damage just so that they can try to take the piece later. Which
Well,
the whole point
that
of this proposal is to just get it over with fast and get it done.
right. It it's a semantics thing where he's basically attributing work if we work with them, then we're guilty of everything that they've done. It's that whole guilty by association thing. It's like
Uh,
it's like if I know that you know you know this whatever Joe Schmo is known for whatever illegal activity or whatever it is if I associate it with him, it's as if I'm condoning what he does. Which that's how Keijiro's looking at it when it comes to working with the thieves.
and he just. Okay, and it makes sense that he would do a bit of a poor job of explaining it, but the others seemed understood, so that's what matters. That or this translation is weird.
Yeah, plus I think he was kind of taking into account like times that the thieves didn't necessarily let the Gangler get away, but they were fighting the police and the Gangler at the same time. So yeah. But anyways, Noel just ends the conversation and challenges him to a duel. If he wins, the PatoRangers must cooperate. If Keiichiro wins, the thieves will turn themselves in. Noel and the thieves are serious. At Jiraiya, the thieves wonder how the duel will go. The thieves actually agree to Noel's wager because, well, they have their own reasons. Umika is kind of on the fence. But basically, Toma says they're screwed either way, and Kairi kind of actually has faith in Keiichiro, which is kind of neat. And then we just get a short scene at the Granio's mansion. The experiment is ready to go again. Any thoughts?
It is nice to see Dogranio in any location that isn't that one chair in the Grand Hall. Uh, and he's actually taking interest in something a Ganglar is doing here, which is Gosh, so it makes sense. It's just nice to see him a bit more active in his own competition than sitting back and just being like, how's this one gonna fuck up today?
Right. He was the last person I expected to show up for that. It's like I would have expected Destra by himself over the Granio. But again, like you said, is like the fact that he's finally seeming to take interest in something beyond, again, just like you said, sit in the chair going, I've got nothing to do today.
I'm so rich and bored.
Like it's one of those. I get you're retiring, but dude, do something. Get active. You're gonna get fat.
uh, Going to.
So, Noel and Keiichiro arrive at the duel site. Kaito and Keisatsu change. Keiichiro refuses to believe in the thieves, but Noel insists that they can cooperate. The experiment starts rampaging. Tsukasa and Sakuya deploy. The Lupin Rangers join Nigo and Sango after a roll call. Uh, yeah, the roll call was alright. There's just the stock footage, but without the snazzy music, so whatever. Uh, During the fight, Noel says that they want to return their loved ones. And Keiichiro remembers what Kaidi said in their first one-on-one fight, that, Kaidi really doesn't have a choice. They have to be thieves. So Lupin X uses his finisher, and then we cut back to the other fight. The experiment continues to beat down both Sentai. Ichigo and X arrive to fight together. Brad trusts Ichigo with the magic piece, so he can open one of the safes. And then we get the opening song in the background, which is pretty great. The Sentai work together to open all 5 safes and defeat the Ganglar. And the finisher is beautiful and awesome. The show has really stepped it up with finishers for mechs and ground fights. Seriously. And Gosh revives the monster. Thoughts?
So the whole duel aspect was interesting, especially how Sukasa puts it. Uh, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong; they just need to settle what they're going to do. Uh, the actual fight against the Gangler itself was a little underwhelming for me. They had a more difficult time against Ryman, and the choreography was spot on, and I'm not complaining about that, and I'm happy with the final product. It was just I was expecting a bit more, but what we got was totally great. The 5 safe opening sequence, I hope they don't try to do that again, like, cuz this one was all we needed for the whole show. Uh, and then when Keiichiro hands back the collection pieces, you can just see the look on his face through the mask. He's just upset with himself. Uh, the finisher was, of course, glorious. I like the crossroads imagery that they did because it forms an X. Yeah, you're right. They did up their game with this one.
Like I agree that the fight was underwhelming, especially considering the fact that like Keiichiro called out for Tsukasa and Sakuya to add support, and literally they fired bullets into the air that happened to bounce off glass.
That distracted the monster for a few seconds so that the others could get close.
which which I get, but that was like the entire fight.
Yeah, it was underwhelming, but still like incredible filming and
Yeah,
choreography.
visually it was amazing, but I felt that should have lasted a little bit longer.
That's
I get I get that the majority of this episode was the build up to them working together, and I'm okay with that. But the on the ground fight, I would have liked to have lasted a little bit longer, considering the fact that that's 90% of what these fights usually are for uh, Lupat. I'm not used to it going the, for like a better term, the Q Ranger route of, hey shit, there's a monster, let's make it big. To me, it just seemed really quick to that point. I mean, like I said, it looked phenomenal. Um, I did like seeing the fact that this isn't the quote unquote altogether mech. So seeing parts switch was wonderful, and the finishers for all of this was amazing, and I love them.
Yeah, so they deploy in Good Kuru Kaiser VSX. And yeah, they pretty much just use all the extra vehicles, like the extra weapon vehicles on the shoulder slots, which are pretty neat. Effects are pretty. Goody's having a great time. The Gangler's defeated. Pretty weak without any collection pieces. At Rare, Kairi tells Kogure that Noel knows something about Gosh's binoculars piece. Kogure just stands up and leaves in a hurry to meet with Noel. Doesn't even put in two of the collection pieces that they got into the book. Just stuffs them in his jacket. So we cut to Noel at the duel site, and we get to see how the duel actually ended. Basically, Ichigo slash Keiichiro could have won, but he let himself lose at a critical moment by not, blasting Noel in the face. So Noel thanks him for that. Keiichiro is watching the sunset at the station. The others think he's just in shock from losing the duel, but obviously we know his thoughts are much deeper than that, and that he's finally considering that maybe the thieves have some noble motives. Episode end. Thoughts?
this was a fantastic way to wrap up the episode. Uh, that whole because normally when they do the whole we're not going to show you the conclusion until later, it usually is some feel good moment that does feel better after the fact. But this was one of the best executions of that, as you see Keiichiro actually reflecting on what he learned when Noel kind of slipped up in the moment and said more than he was supposed to. I mean, speak for himself, really. Like, he didn't have to say that about the others. Uh, as for Kogure, first off, why did Umika keep trying to suggest Kogure join them? Has she ever seen that dude move more than 2 miles an hour? Even at the end here, when he was in a rush to get out, he couldn't haul his ass.
Well, that's why Tuma kept telling her no.
I know, and he was right to do so. Why did she keep suggesting it?
Because it was that of the people who want to arrest him. I mean, I get the idea behind it, and yes, it was primarily done for the gag, but
Yeah.
when literally your only other support staff is the old dude, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna decide to go with the old dude to help you against the monster instead of the cops that want to arrest you.
Uh, he never would have gotten close to that Ganglar.
He wouldn't have got close.
Uh, but there's also my theory from a while back that Koguri is actually Gosh, and this just kind of strengthens that theory for me because he very much went into a panic when the binoculars were brought up again. In addition to Noel knows what they do. I mean, he did say he would look into it for them, months ago and hasn't brought it up since. I feel like out of everyone, he would know what they do by now.
I mean, everything seems to point that direction with him. He pops in and out of nowhere. No one ever sees him walk into the restaurant, but he appears behind them inside of it. You know, he walks out behind pillars the same way that Gauch does. So that already fits it. The fact that he panicked the moment that they mentioned that Noel had said anything about Gauch's um, collection pieces and took off saying, I need to go talk to him, is highly suspect. And as far as theories go, in my opinion, if it doesn't follow that theory, then Kogure is responsible for at least Gauche having collection pieces. There's literally no other reason for him to panic like that. Um, in terms of the duel and all that, is like having the flashback to how it actually went down was a nice touch, and the fact that it didn't go down the way we expected it to, because we had Keiichiro's working with him, so Noel won the duel. And while yes, that's true, technically Noel lost it.
It couldn't be more obvious to even them that Noel lost that duel.
Right? It's like, but Noel showed up, or in which even with the way the duel went, both of them are well aware that Noel lost that duel because he had him dead to rights. Pull of the trigger, and that would have been the end of it. But instead, he hesitated, stood there for a second, and then pointed down at a point where he knew that the blast would uh, reflect,
Which,
which would give Noel the win,
and that
the
was
opening for the win.
also a nice touch that he did that instead of just, whoops, I dropped my weapon, like you would expect.
And it's like it was done really, really well. Um, Actually, seeing the duel itself from beyond what we saw where it ended, where it was very, very well filmed too, even with the CG rocks and all that, and the fact that yes, I feel that everything Noel said was on purpose too. I don't think it was him overreaching. I think he said I think when it came to the idea of the duel, because he already had that planned out anyways, because he knew that Keiichiro wouldn't go for the plan, that they would have to basically trick him into doing it. He already had the information from from Kairi about how everything went down with the fire truck collection piece. That Keiichiro understood, that here was something they needed to get done. He's already got the cooperation down when it's required. So giving him that little push would have been easy, especially if all he had to do is basically reiterate what Kyrie had already told him, that we have reasons for what we're doing. We have no other choice but this, which is what Noel did by pointing out again that we need this to bring back our loved ones, which put enough doubt into Keiichiro to, you know, for lack of a better term, throw the fight. The one thing that struck me as odd with all of this is the phrase that Tsukasa uses when they look, because when Keijiro is looking out the window and thinking about all this, they use the fact that he's in shock from losing the duel, and she uses the phrase, "The lights are on, but nobody's home," which, while accurate for the way that for the description for this, that's the wrong use of it. That's always been a phrase used to refer to someone who's dumb. You know,
Huh.
the wheel is turning, but the hamster's dead. It's a different version of that, but it works out really, really well for this. It was just really strange to me that they used it though.
I wonder if that was more a translator's decision. Hmm.
It might have been, and we won't know unless we watch somebody else's subs, or anybody who does watch anybody else's subs has it differently. Um,
Who's subbing this series from TV Nihon? Is it
I want to say it's Luna Angel.
Luna Joe, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know how to pronounce any of their names.
Luna Gel, like from Ranger?
Um, but and again, they get into their own little things on why they pick things the way they do. And yeah, it could be just a translator's thing of that was the easiest way to explain it. It's one of those in translation would have sounded worse than what this says. So, but it was just odd to see it that way.
As for the mech fight, because I don't think we actually touched upon that. Uh, this was it was good to see the different auxiliary mechs get used in this like temporary version of the altogether mech. Uh, and it was also good to see the Reds actually share the cockpit this time. I still loved that this series was willing to just boot one of them out for someone else. The introduction fight.
Like I'd mentioned it before. Is like I really liked the fact that they were swapping out the parts for this one. That was a nice touch for the fact that they have more collection pieces that get used in that mech. And it was really nice to see them actually working together. And Noel's right; they are a good combi. It's like they work really well together when they work together. Um, but yeah, it's like it. I'm even okay with like the CG that they use for this mech. Because like typically I don't like the CG in mechs with like I had that issue back when Gokaiger came out. But it works with this one because it makes sense why this one would be CG rather than a guy in a suit, because this one just is really cumbersome, or would be really cumbersome. So, but yeah, I love the way this mech looks.
It kind of reminds me of the Go Launchers, like all together mech, where they just start looking for places to put the pieces.
I mean, it's getting to that point. I mean, but that had been a thing too for a couple of years, because even Shinkenger did crap like that.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting how ugly the Shinkenger's final mech is.
Oh, it was terrible. It was like, but I have promise for the final mech of this one,
Yes. This one, they seem to know
because
what they're doing in terms of design. Shinkenger's whole thing is that less was more, but they weren't allowed to do that.
right, it's like at least even with it being, especially with this being CG and all that, like they can work more on making it still look as sleek as it does. So I can still see the final ultimate mech being really sleek looking, and I honestly I can't wait to see it.
Also, the mech here, I didn't think about this before. It kind of looks like a Ganglar. With like the extra arms sticking out of the top and such.
Yeah, I can see that. I just kind of looked at it like kind of like the for lack of a better term, like the wings position for it because it seems to be kind of like behind it.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it would work if they had like some sort of. I mean, granted, yes, they're jets, but you know what I mean.
right.
Some like version of flight for that mech. It would work to put them there in terms of flight. I'm guessing final thoughts.
Yep. It was a good one. The duel was very interesting and had some good turns, and the fact that how it was cut out until the end of the episode was pretty fun too. But yeah, I'm interested to see Keiichiro's less pissed off side.
This episode is the moment that we've been talking about since the show started, where the two teams come together. Like, this is clearly the entryway for that being a more common thing, and this was a really good execution of that. I definitely look forward to seeing where they take this going forward.
Like Raikon was
Ryman.
the Raimon was the hey, this is a possibility of a thing, and the this is a thing.
This
So
is
you know
proof of
this
concept.
yeah this solidified that it would work because with Raimon it worked but it didn't. They didn't want to work together kind of thing. Whereas this they put everything aside and did work together.
Right, when they
And,
got into the altogether mech, uh, Red and Red were arguing so hard, one of the Reds got kicked out.
right. Whereas now they're literally saying the exact same things at the exact same time. So it shows progress and, like I said, proof of concept. And I'm okay if this isn't an all the time thing because for me it would work well that way if it was just a kind of an oh crap kind of thing. But at the same time, even if it wasn't now, well, leading up to it and like with the final arc, that's just what it is. Them all of them working together and all that, I'd be fine with. Is like because they've written it to the point where it could be either way, and I don't think anybody would have a problem with it. This series has been just getting better and better, and coming off the last couple of Sentais, I'm very, very grateful for. And I look forward to seeing where all of this goes for since we're getting up on the final arc.
Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We'll be doing the Kamen Rider Zio podcast tomorrow as normal, though it's unclear if we'll be able to live stream it. I won't be there, but we'll be back to our regular schedule next week. See you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. And on a side note, I did forget to mention this earlier. On behalf of King, who wasn't here, I would like to point out that Lucky quoted, or wow, Kyrie quoted her about Ghosh at the beginning of this episode and called her extremely creepy.
She is.
So I'm sure King enjoyed that a little bit. But see you guys next week, and thank you all for listening.